Hopefully, you're all here for the second in our series for the Destination Ready, the virtual forum for tourism stakeholders here. This one is featuring destination organizations that are providing critical care, and we have a rock star lineup for you today that I'm so excited to hear from. Um, Before we get into that, a couple of things. First off, this event is hosted by North Carolina State Tourism Extension. So I'm Ann Savage. I'm our tourism extension specialist. I work across the state. And I have my colleague on here, Dr. Whitney Nolenberg, who's one of our faculty extension specialists in tourism. And she and I work collaboratively together all over the state. You can find us at this link, go.ncsu.edu/tourism. But our goal is really to just support destinations. In kind of however we can, whatever they're looking for, whatever we see as gaps in resources. And so that's how we came up with this series. The purpose of this series was really to start stimulating conversations among tourism stakeholders about preparedness and resilience, providing a space for that. We saw a lot of conversations after things happen, response, recovery, but we really want to kind of start shifting and making sure we're highlighting those lessons learned so that we can start thinking about how to apply them ahead of time. So with this series, we're really hoping to identify areas of interest or need moving forward, figure out kind of what the folks that are coming are interested in learning about, what maybe expertise you have on the call, how we can highlight your stories or lessons that you have to share, and then figure out different ways to support it. So the webinar is one way. Perhaps there are ways that we can partner with different organizations to create resources. We're really open to it. Our goal is to serve our destinations and our destination communities in North Carolina. So if you have ideas, never hesitate to reach out. So first things first, whoop, too many things. We have polls. Maddie, can you launch the polls? Or I can stop sharing and launch them. We have polls to kick us off, so we have a couple questions for you. We just want to know what best describes your organization. So who's here today? That helps us and our speakers kind of get a sense of who's in the room. Has your organization faced a disaster in the past 3 years? Has there been some sort of event that has happened that's brought you here today? Or are you just curious about kind of that preparedness piece? Does your organization's business have an emergency response plan in place? This is something we're curious about to see if there's a lot of maybe some need there. And how confident are you in your organization's ability to respond to some sort of climate-related emergency? We realize there are a lot of types of emergencies out there, and the list kind of grows that we learn about each day. Um, but yeah, this will help us kind of get a sense of what resources we can provide or what areas we need to focus on. We'll also get a follow-up survey at the end of this that'll help with a little bit more information. So, we work in a university. We're always trying to pull back some research from you at all times. Let's see, we'll take a couple minutes there. We have a couple more folks that are waiting to respond. We'll see if we get one more. All right. So I'll share the results. Looks like we have one DMO on right now, some nonprofits, some folks working in higher ed, farmer agribusiness, and some other. We have the half that have faced a disaster in the past 3 years. Um, don't know about the emergency plan in place. That's very similar to what we had last month on this as well. And a pretty high confidence about your organization's ability. That's great. That's great to hear. Hopefully this helps with that confidence today. So let me go back to share real quick. So we have two incredible speakers. We're going to kick off with Dodie Stevens with Explore Asheville today, and then we'll launch it over to Gladys Sosa to tell us about what they're doing in Greenville, South Carolina. Have to give that caveat here in North Carolina, to hear about their programs that they're moving forward with. So Dodie, if you want to go ahead and pull your slides up, I will give a brief intro here. So Dodie Stevens is the Vice President of Marketing for Explore Asheville, powered by the Buncombe County Tourism Development Authority in Asheville, North Carolina. Her work centers on illuminating the living heritage of places through the passion, resilience, and enterprise of the people who call them home. Over 17 years with Explore Asheville, Stevens has positioned Asheville as a nationally recognized destination rooted in culture and community. And today she's going to tell us a little bit about their response to Hurricane Helene. I reached out originally because I loved the Love Asheville from Afar campaign. I bought all of my Christmas gifts in 2024 from that website. And so I just wanted her to be able to share kind of their insights and how all that came together. So, Dodie, take it away.
Thanks, Anne. Thanks to you and Whitney for inviting us here for this opportunity. So today I'm planning to cover Love Asheville from Afar, but also really just round it out a bit more to share three early strategic, whoops, I'm already flying, three early strategic moves that really are grounding Asheville's comeback after Hurricane Helene. And this is our crisis response story, but it's also a momentum building story. And holding both of those things together is really important when moving through it. So for those not from the area, I'll give a little background on Hurricane Helene. Hurricane Helene moved through Western North Carolina on the 27th of September, 2024, or at the start, the peak of fall travel season, which is our most economically vital time of year. It was a generational storm event. Business districts and creative communities, our historic districts were devastated by the flooding as the French Broad River and other tributaries rose to unprecedented levels. It was also a geological disaster, hundreds of landslides, road closures, and weeks without power and drinking water. Our downtown infrastructure, as you can see here, remained largely intact. But our community, even the businesses who weren't, impacted with damage, were enduring these compounding hardships and an economic blackout. Our lodging tax revenues dropped 74% immediately, and tourism accounts for 20% of our GDP. We knew marketing and messaging were going to support economic recovery. That data is there. What we didn't know was the timeline. There was a lot of uncertainty. Most of the data around flatland hurricanes suggest about a year for spending to return, but Helene was mountainous, moving across regions. It was expansive and it was different. So we were very much concerned that we might be facing something that was a bit more of an outlier, like Hurricane Katrina, with a visitor spend not returning until 42 months after, which is a long time for businesses to hang on. So moving on to where we are today with some definitive signs in many directions that we are shifting our recovery to a rebound, which is a word we are intentionally using to communicate a healthy recovery of our tourism economy. One of the major proof points we got some news of after the first fall color season that we had since Helene. After storm impacts and construction and landslides, the Blue Ridge Parkway was able to open 114 miles in both directions, and just in time for color season and for us to market and tell that story. And you can see a real definitive bounce back in this chart. The top attraction increased 15% over 2023. And, we're here, we just passed our 1.5 year mark since Helene, and able to share that the Asheville Airport has reported that 2025 was its second highest year on record. in the midst of doubling their capacity, which is what they're working on. And on the DMO side, travel demand is also looking strong here in 2026. So we are gaining ground. And as you can see, some of the work that has paved the way, this is a list of major accolades and news stories that we've earned since the storm. This would be an incredible list for any destination marketing organization in any year. For us, it's real proof in those foundations. It's proof in our communities' collective effort, and that the resilience and heart that our community showed was really what made the difference. And that was specifically what Reader's Digest noted when they named Asheville one of the nicest places in America at the end of 2025. So the community, whoops, I'm all different ways. The community is making it happen together. So we're got a lot of momentum on the horizon. We have PGA Tour returning this fall after 60 years with the Biltmore Championship Asheville. Biltmore has also opened an immersive nighttime sensory experience. Airport's expanding. We're opening the largest mountain bike park of its kind in America, and we are on track to host some major events, including the finance track for the G20 and Outdoor Media Summit this fall. And really, what I want you to take away as we kind of get back into the taxes is like all of this can be traced back to the decisions that we made in the early days of Helene, which really helped lay that foundation. So this is a timeline. This is 1 month after the storm. I highlighted here 3 strategies that supported both immediate relief and long-term recovery, and really the heart of what I want to share. So those are the 3 efforts. The one that Anne mentioned, Love Asheville from Afar, the launch of the Always Asheville Fund, a granting mechanism, and the amplified event structure, which started with Concert for Carolina, that helped fuel them both. So we'll start with LAFA, Love Asheville from Afar. This was a donation and e-commerce platform, and it connected global audiences, actually, with the area's small businesses and creatives in a time of desperate need. The structure, we kept it really simple. We adapted it from some things that we learned during the pandemic, with a virtual experiences gift guide, and built from there. We used a simple listing grid that we already use on our site. And we featured partners across categories and created a path to keep support flowing. We launched this in under 20 days. And this was critical because, we were without power and business as we were without water for 53 days. The platform grew to more than 770 businesses and attracted 113,000 users and generated more than 200,000 clicks. The feedback that we got was incredible. People used it for their holiday shopping and their trip planning. But the direct nature of this platform is the key to its success, we think. People could go in immediately. We launched it quick. It showcased our creative community in a very personal way, and they could act. It wasn't a complicated e-commerce lift. We just simply linked to the partners that had e-commerce or a donation platform or a gift card. And in many cases, we didn't even, ask them. We were just pulling that from our partner lists and pulling donation links off of Instagram and letting them know after the fact, and no one complained about that. So some takeaways from LAFA. This really came from a direct cry for help from our local business nonprofits, like our chamber and our downtown business association. So it mattered that we showed up very quickly to offer resources from our marketing team. And not only do we do that, but as we went along, we really lowered the barriers to entry, and we built for the good of many, tried to keep it as inclusive as possible, and opened it up to non-traditional partners for us, like nonprofit organizations, and even some that had, reach outside the county. Again, just kind of keeping that barrier low to support as many people as possible. And in doing that, we really took the load off our neighbors and allowed them to get back into the community and be the boots on the ground that they were during that time. Another tactical win here was our choice to, reach out to our media contacts, our advertising contacts, our vendors, and asked them to donate and share. And they did. And we got thousands of in-kind visibility, ad value, and donations and stories just simply for asking for help. So I'll move on to the Always Asheville Fund. So this was our granting mechanism. We have a long history of supporting community projects and administering grants at Explore Asheville. And so the Always Asheville Fund was built to support that quick reopening of visitor-facing businesses. It was seeded with $300,000 from our earned revenue fund, which we get from website advertising, and was focused on very intentionally on micro grants and not loans. So the grant amounts ranged from $2,500 to $10K for reopening and operational expenses. The need was obviously extremely urgent. FEMA reports that 40% of small businesses do not reopen after a disaster. So we wanted to buck that and support our local entrepreneurs. So you can see here the breadth of the partners that were supported with the 2.2 million that we've raised. 36% of the grants went to restaurants and bars, 25% to retail, 11% to breweries, wineries, distilleries, and 8% supported art studios and galleries. So in other words, this was, reached local businesses that shape and are essential to the Asheville area's visitor experience and our identity. Absolutely critical when you think about long-term recovery to get something like this up and out. And you can see from some of the feedback that we got that it was just this really mattered. And we marketed it well. Many of the grantees said that the Always Asheville Fund was the first relief that they received after Hurricane Helene, and in some cases it was the only relief that they received. Businesses like the Sarah Sunshine Pottery were able to open doors, retain staff. Others were able to make repairs. And the speed and timing was what gave them hope for the long haul. So it was really just an important effort all the way around. Some takeaways from our partnership and destination management team who built and managed this. First and foremost, if you're executing something like this, is really prioritize the well-being emotionally for your team. They are reviewing lots of volumes of devastation, and it's hard on the staff, so you have to build in support. This is a big capacity issue for a team, and so it's emergency response is really going to require a full team pivot for something like this. In our case, the partnership and destination management team, they pivoted for at least 8 weeks and focused on very little else, 4 or 5 people. But at one point, 17 people across the organization were helping review grant applications. And also very important to build an equitable and fair process, including initial eligibility screenings and multiple independent interviews to maintain consistency and equity across the process. And then finally, if you can announce something like this quick, you really put yourself in a position as a community to leverage the spot to funnel this negative hard spotlight of crisis into something that will gain traction for your community. So we were able to use that spotlight moment to generate donations and funds. So moving on to Concert for the Carolina and our amplified event strategy. This was the promotional engine for the Always Asheville Fund, also became a relief generator in its own right. And more broadly, this just became our model. We used high profile events, not just for visibility, but to direct support to these efforts and to amplify our messages along the way and help accelerate economic return to our community. So how that went down within a week, Explore Asheville was in contact with Luke Combs' team. We had been in contact with them before around partnership ideas, and this took that into a whole new space. We were able to come to the table with $1 million as a presenting sponsor from our ad budgets in an all proceeds benefit format. It took place less than a month after the storm and raised $24.5 million in hurricane relief, with $12.25 million benefiting specifically Western North Carolina and our region. We used the platform to activate VIP bids for the Always Asheville Fund, and the event drew record-breaking crowds, 82,000 in Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, live streamed to 7.1 million and viewed across 50 states and 30 countries. Benefits are not a new, benefit concerts are nothing new, but applying advertising funds as a destination marketing organization for guaranteed relief and strategic visibility was a real shift in our thinking that we would definitely make again. So after Concert for Carolina, we kept iterating on this through different models. Cooks for Carolina showed us how the concert concept could work in other communities. This is in New Orleans. We raised 100,000 for our independent restaurants and kept that Always Asheville Fund moving. Soulshine at Madison Square Garden was another iteration. Asheville native Warren Haynes and Dave Matthews and others joined for a sold-out benefit concert, and Asheville was a diamond sponsored at $250K, which was returned fully to the community through the Always Asheville Fund. And along the way, we evolved within these our messaging opportunities to show our community's progress and begin to invite travelers to return to Asheville with heart. Our last example here is Stars Serving Up Love, because this one was a real strategic shift for us. By this point in our recovery, this was we were ready to open our doors and lead with a visitation message and some direct impact. So the relief portion of this was still very central. And the Always Asheville Fund was still very central, but now we were using this as an event in our community to help bring people back to our community and spend in our community. So a celebrity tennis event, and we produced storytelling segments that aired on the Tennis Channel and at the event, sold 3,500 tickets, raised $1 million, and 460,000 of that came back to the Always Asheville Fund. So it generated more than 300K in economic impact inside our community and 750 room nights during a low travel season that winter. So this one is really the proof point that amplified events can work hard for relief in different ways. Just kind of going over some results. We committed more than 1.65 million to Hurricane Helene relief efforts, and that came back to our community tenfold and helped us leverage more than 15.7 million in direct local recovery funds. Many of the businesses that received their first and only support got that through Explore Asheville and the Always Asheville Fund. And the campaign also generated just massive visibility, allowing us to showcase progress along the way for our community. Community pride, our resident sentiment, is really important measure for us. That rose 84%, and support for tourism promotion rose to 91%, a 4% increase year over year. And at the same time, traveler sentiment improved. We saw the share of people who believed the Asheville area was fully opening double in just 3 months. So just a few closing lessons on the amplified event side of things is really tap into your network and look for ways to say yes. Our destinations sit at unique positions as connectors and marketing partners, and you can consider building and investing in charitable activations in crisis that can do more than one job. Just be clear what success looks like and think about things beyond relief, like awareness, momentum, economic return. And certainly with all of that, hold space for the hardship alongside the progress that you're sharing. You can serve both with these strategies. My last slide is to show how our message strategy was visibly evolving along the way with each step. Early on, we led with Plan a Return Trip with Heart, and in November, Be Part of the Comeback was born. Across our response, the destination marketing organization is just in that really unique position to leverage our in-house expertise alongside our industry connectivity when it matters. And I'm going to leave you today with another one of those collaborations in partnership with one of our partners from Concert for Carolina, NC Hall of Fame musician Eric Church.
Like a phone call from my baby, saying, honey, I miss you like crazy. Just like the sound of a siren song. Oh, Hey, fly, hey, fly, hey, fly. Fly, fly, fly.
Thank you. Glad to take questions at the end.
Thanks, Dodie. And if you want to drop a link for that video in there, some of the sound was, it wasn't coming through fully on my end that time, even though we tested it before. Um, Wonderful. So Dodie talked to us about an event that happened and kind of how they responded to it. And I wanted to follow that up with Gladys, who is with Visit Greenville, South Carolina, to tell us about kind of an evergreen program that they have to support their tourism workforce. So Gladys Sosa Jones is the event experiences manager at Visit Greenville, South Carolina. I'm gonna get all these words right. It's lots of vills today, where she serves as the bridge between sales, marketing, and on-the-ground operations to bring meetings and group events to life. She leads the planning and execution of attendee experiences, managing every stage from pre-event strategy and site visits to on-site coordination and post-event insights. And Gladys leads this effort for the a la carte, or she'll tell us more about the a la carte foundation that they started with their local chapter of the Restaurant and Lodging Association. So Gladys, feel free to take us away.
Hello, everybody. Hope you can hear me okay. I am getting my screen shared here. So sorry for the delay. Really excited to be here to talk to you about a la carte today. I'm sorry, Anne, I don't know why it's not coming up in my windows.
That is all right.
Do you happen to have it handy?
I do.
I'm so sorry, y'all.
This is why we have backups ready to go. Let me open it and then.
So I'll talk to y'all a little bit about a la carte. It is our always on campaign, similar to our friends at Explore Asheville. September of 2024 hit kind of hard. We were ideating at that time about a way to replicate another local organization called Hubitality. So that was in Spartanburg County, one of our neighbors. Of course, we share a lot of the same businesses. We share an airport, and we really looked up to what Hubitality did. We were looking to replicate it at that time and rebrand it with a la carte when Helene hit. So big props to Asheville for being able to work so quickly on something. It took us several months more, but a la carte was founded, modeled after Hubitality, like I said. So the South Carolina Restaurant Lodging Association and Visit Greenville SC partnered to put together this 501c3 and really get our industry all together. Greenville has been growing tremendously, so the upstate growth really has put that pressure on our workforce. And of course, we want to support them in being as resilient as possible. And something like a la carte has really helped shape that.
And Gladys, I know that Anne is working on getting your slides pulled up here. So as she's working on that, could you just give us a quick overview of like the South Carolina Restaurant Lodging Association and what their role is?
Yes, they hold the foundation, the 501c3. I am on the board of the South Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association. So really our CEO and the CEO for them have got together and started this foundation, fundraised, of course, got a lot of industry stakeholders involved. So we all know tourism runs on the people. A lot of these workers live paycheck to paycheck. So we wanted any personal crisis for them to have a solution, we do give grants up to $2,500. One interesting thing about the program is we don't give the money directly. We do, there we go. Thank you, Anne. We do pay their bills kind of separately and help them in that way. So that's a little bit about A La Heart. I do have a video from one of our key stakeholders, Carl Sobosinski. He's a restaurateur, and at our launch event, oh, sorry, I skipped ahead. So our mission, of course, like I mentioned, is to assist these hospitality employees in our county. They can be employed in the county or live in the county. And in times of personal crisis, such as injury, illness, disaster, funeral, death, maternity leave. Oh, goodness.
We'll see. I just got kicked off. I have it downloaded as a PDF, which is, but I'll just open it up. So you'll just have to tell me when to scroll it.
Perfect.
Sorry about this, folks. This is live.
Oh, are y'all seeing my screen by chance? No.
Probably because I'm sharing mine. Do you want to try yours again? There you go. That's working.
I'm sorry, the permissions or something are being, I don't know, messed with. Okay, so our mission at A La Heart, of course, is to support our industry. We really wanted something that was for our industry, by our industry, so we got lots of great stakeholders together. I do believe this is a model that any destination across the country can replicate just by getting some of those key people together. Of course, we want to, tourism is so important to Greenville. 1 in 11 employees is part of the industry. It's over a $2 billion impact to us here. So tourism is so important. We want these workers to feel like they are so important to Greenville as well. So like I mentioned, injury, illness, disaster, funeral, death, even maternity assistance, which I absolutely love. Because these workers many times live paycheck to paycheck and don't have this kind of infrastructure built out to them. So I will go to the next slide, which is a quick video of our launch day, hearing from one of our stakeholders.
Hi, I'm Carl Sobosinski, president of Table 301 Hospitality. Yeah, here this afternoon to talk a little bit about A La Heart and a wonderful organization. Our industry is one of the largest employers in the state, one of the most important, tourism and hospitality. Our employees are the heartbeat of what we do every day. And to be able to have an organization that is now funded and is available, that they can reach out to and help get over the hump and get to the other side, it's what we do in the hospitality business. We're in hospitality, we take care of others, we show up for this state, for this community, day in and day out. And so to now be able to show up for our employees, there's nothing that really feels better than that.
This buy-in from our local community has been paramount. Our year one goal, so we launched just about a year ago in last June. It took us a while to come up with branding and fundraising and all of that. But since launch year, our year one goal was $100,000. We over doubled that in multi-year commitments and grant funding. We also have a great calendar of events going that supports A La Heart. So as you see there, like our Euphoria Food and Wine Festival is a recipient of some of that grant money. Fall for Greenville, one of our big festivals, just a lot of buy-in from all kinds of industry leaders. Our local restaurant week, A La Heart is the sole beneficiary there. We're coming up with different fundraising events. We had the Upstate Hospitality Awards that we rebranded to the Heart Awards for Hospitality Excellence. So we're really trying to keep that branding cohesive and make a lot of the employees aware of this benefit. Something really cool also is that although this isn't always on organization, we do have some special grant money as well. So for example, we just had some winter storms all the ice that happened, and we were able to open a separate grant since a lot of our restaurants and hotels and such lost business and wages. We were able to give anyone who applied there a flat fee to help cover some of those lost wages. Over the last year, there's been over 60 plus workers assisted. Of course, we're going to continue growing there. The pot of money is strong. The funds are really healthy. Just to be transparent, one of the biggest challenges is getting in front of these frontline employees. We certainly speak to a lot of the stakeholders, right? And a lot of the people who donate. And it's really that trickle down of information. So a couple of things we've done to combat that. We have some great collateral that we have put together for back of house, break rooms, things of that nature. So while we have some great fundraising pieces, we want to be able to use those funds and get lots of applications. So a small example here, you see on the right-hand side, the A La Heart Has Your Back campaign. My first language is Spanish. I translated all of those into Spanish for back of house as well, for those that's their primary language. So this is really grassroots, but we're proud of the work that's been done over the last year. And some of the recognition that's come with that. So this last year, we won the Isha Award of Excellence at the ceremony up in Rhode Island for events and fundraising. And like I said, fundraising has been really strong. We're working now on just people knowing that the funds are available to them. I think it's great to see the testimonial here about somebody who was approved for assistance, and it just helps lift a weight and they feel that support from the industry. And something that I'm really proud of is that now other destinations around the state have started to adopt A La Heart. So the newest is A La Heart Grand Strand, the Myrtle Beach area. This program is being replicated. I think some key insights for replication: awareness is the biggest barrier, like I have been saying. I'm actually so open to if anyone has some good ideas. I saw we had some nonprofits on the call. We are trying, I think, now to just build lots of bridges with nonprofits because they already capture a lot of this audience. And, you know, if they also fall in the pool of being a hospitality employee, there's these other funds also available to them. Industry buy-in, like you saw from Carl, is critical. The big decision makers. Speed builds trust. So when somebody applies, we have a subcommittee that reviews all the applications. I'm on that subcommittee, and we try to give ourselves like 8 hours. We have a text chain going, you know, new application, everybody review it, DocuSign it. And there is an SCRLA employee that fields all of those requests. So of course, we only get ones that are truly hospitality employees and that would qualify. So once we get that, we quickly review it and help get their bills paid. And then recognition fuels growth. So that's what we are really, really working on around the state. I believe that this is a flexible, scalable nonprofit. People can work with their local restaurant lodging associations or even internally. And it's just good to consider how your destination can maybe replicate something like this and help build a more resilient workforce. So I would love to answer any questions. I am so sorry about my tech issues. Totally on me.
No, that's how this goes. It's on me too. And we checked before and everything worked out well. And then best laid plans. So folks, we have plenty of time for questions here. And I see we have some in the chat for Dodie. I'd love if we could get some in the chat for Gladys as well, or for both of them. But Dodie, let's see. Looks like we have Lynn, who was our first question asker here. She wanted to understand a little bit more about how your organization engages with FEMA. And if you can provide an overarching comment about how FEMA did or did not assist the community.
Yeah, our county, while we did communicate with FEMA, that was happening at our CEO and executive team level. So I can't quite characterize that. It was those primarily those contacts and programs were being handled by the city of Asheville and our county primarily. So our role was a little bit different, which enabled us to focus on these types of programs.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let's see. I'll take one from Whitney here for Gladys. Can you tell us more about how you are communicating the impacts of this program to your stakeholders?
Absolutely. Being that we're in year one, we're still collecting a lot of data, but we do have some collateral coming out, like a recap of the year. A lot of stakeholders are also really involved with the South Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association. Of course, there's lots of overlap. So we have our membership bases that we're always communicating with. It's interesting, right? Two sides of the coin, people that would donate and then people that would take advantage of the funds. So for example, for National Travel and Tourism Week coming up, we have a big event at our minor league baseball field. We'll have a la heart table there, which we set up a table literally anywhere that they'll have us and fundraise as much as possible, but also get exposed. So all of our stakeholders come to an event like that as well. And then we have our hospitality heroes and things of that nature.
Wonderful. Thanks, Gladys. Dodie, regarding the Always Asheville Grant Fund, can you share a little bit about where the funding for these grants come from and how you promote that opportunity for grantees or what the infrastructure is for submitting an application? So that's 3 questions, but
Yeah, and I so that was done through our partnership and destination management team. So if anybody would like to get, like some like real like nitty gritty on how to lift something like that, I would love to connect you. So just let me know. But in general, the grant was seeded by our earned revenue funds. So we were able to start it with 300,000 from, and that is a fund that is fueled by website advertising and visitor guide advertising from our partners that we then generally are giving out as grants for events and festivals for marketing funds, and made perfect sense for us to translate some of that into PriceRisk relief when those things were not able to be happening. Also, but the largest, it was 2.2 million at the end. And so those opportunities, those amplified events, getting the word out. So, whether that was including it in every, news story or press release, as well as just building this crescendo of activations through events, in our community and outside of our community was really what kept it so visible. We also reached out to our travel and tourism community. That has been an amazing lesson. And this is just how well we support each other in times of crisis. I could do a whole conversation about that. But we got additional seed money for that, 30K from Destinations International members directly.
that's wonderful. Thank you, Dodie. Gladys, Maddie has a really good question in here. She says she's worked for the restaurant industry for 5 years, and what you're doing with the foundation is really admirable. She's curious about having been in the industry. She's seen how fast-paced and disconnected communication can be with that workforce. And so I know you said you're working on that, but have there been any strategies that you have found to be most effective in reaching those workers?
Sure. Yeah. Like I said, this is our biggest challenge. Turnover, fast pace, everyone's just trying to keep up, right? Especially in times of crisis. I think the back of house collateral has been helpful. Word of mouth, honestly, we have a very tight-knit community, so that has been really beneficial. Partnering with nonprofits is really our next strategy. If somebody goes to United Way or one of our many organizations, we want them to be armed with this information if that individual is a part of the industry. It's actually funny. I have tons of anecdotes like this, but we were hosting a fundraiser for A La Heart, and one of the servers was pregnant, and she was like, "Wait a minute, maternity assistance, does that mean me?" And I was like, "Yes, that means you." And she applied, got that assistance. So we have tons of those examples. Awareness for these frontline employees really, really has been our biggest challenge. Like I said, I translated some of the collateral. I we're just trying to get it in front of as many people as possible because the funds are really healthy. And I want them to go down. I want people to put more money up and use more money for those employees. So any ideas, I'm open, but I think partnering with other nonprofits and kind of like a street team is something we're thinking of doing to all of our downtown. We have great members. We email them. It's the primary and secondary contacts are usually GMs, owners, things like that. And so we like to put the onus on them as well to communicate with their teams and know this is available.
Anne, can I jump in with a quick follow-up? Gladys, that is super helpful. Thank you so much for sharing, particularly the relationship you all are building with the nonprofit organizations. That makes so much sense. From a lot of work that I've done in the Outer Banks in terms of supporting workforce members out there, when there's a really robust network of nonprofits that are already supporting these folks, whether it's through healthcare or childcare assistance, things like that. Those I found were really useful channels of communication to connect with those folks. And I'm sure it also helps them become more aware of the work that you all do through the, Visit Greenville, so that they know your name and that what you're contributing to the community and that this is a part of what you're doing. So it's also kind of this advocacy win for you guys too.
Absolutely. We want tourism to continue to grow. We want these individuals to know that they are what makes the industry.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gladys and Whitney. I saw a question here from Sandra. For Dodie, did you implement any projects coordinated across different destinations that were affected by Helene within North Carolina or the other states that were impacted?
Yeah, we were really grateful for our partners at the State Tourism Office, Visit NC, post-storm. They were quick to respond and rally all of the affected counties, not just for status updates, but also just for that reason, so that we could share and understand what was happening around us, because communication was tricky. And we were all necessarily focused on our own spaces. And so that opened up a real line of sharing and collaboration. Some of the ways that played out for us was, putting, when we couldn't host fall travel visitors. So we turned that communication channels to the benefit of our regional partners, and sharing those that were open and doing just fine because the crisis happened for them too in a different way. Some of the counties that didn't see impacts and just didn't get visitors because of the high visibility of what happened across Western North Carolina. So we were able to share their good news and accessibility. We also did that for communities along the Parkway and for scenic routes, as we called them, when there were, closed roads or landslides or repairs in place. We would often do windy itineraries that leveraged and supported our partners across the region. And then the other thing that comes to mind to me is related to the Love Asheville from Afar. So we also gathered with our contiguous counties to talk several times and make sure that we were connecting and sharing and supporting each other. And so through that, we shared the Love Asheville from Afar program, and then offered up that template that we created, just the bare bones template, ready to go to them free of charge.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very helpful. I know when I looked on the Love Asheville from Afar, I bought things from all over the region to make sure I spread the love.
Yeah, and we just, we loosened our guidelines as well, in terms of the support. So there were some donations on there for, our arts community that, supports the entire region. And so it's like more opportunities for folks to win. We have the resources to get the word out. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I have another question for you, Dodie, from Maddie. She noticed that you emphasized the word rebound in your messaging, and she wanted to know how intentional that language was in shaping the public perception and encouraging visitors to return to Asheville.
Yeah, I would say that is here in kind of maybe what I would just call for this group phase two. Early on, we were really emphasizing the comeback, right? Plan a return trip with heart, then be part of the comeback, kind of that rallying momentum. Within our community, there's the crisis and recovery just is not one size fits all. It's not just one paintbrush across our community. So we are always being very mindful that while, numbers may look great here or here, in other parts of our community, that's not the case. And, so we're just within the community, we talk a lot about recovery. However, we've been very intentional, especially here in heading through 2026 and beyond, in talking about a rebound, because while our county and our city still need to be focused on that word recovery, tourism for our community is the engine of economic rebound. And so we are very much with our stakeholders and with our communities and with our partners, talking about our recovery journey in terms of framing it as a rebound, because that's what we need to do in order to support the recovery that's still happening. That economic engine needs to pump even harder and rebound and lift more of those boats.
I love that. I love shifting that focus and those words. That's a great point. Great question, Maddie. Whitney, I'm going to ask you if there's one more question for Gladys or Dodie.
No, Anne, I think we've hit all of the ones that I've seen come through the chat. And I really thank you. Round of applause to our attendees for great questions. Thank you for engaging with our presenters. And I'll just kick off the final thanks and wrap up here, Anne, with Dodie and Gladys. It is so helpful to hear the concrete nitty-gritty details of how this works because as Anne mentioned, we kind of see it from the outside, but I know just looking out like that is a lot of work to make all that happen. And I really appreciate you sharing the actual strategies and functions of what you did so that our attendees can take away some of those and think about how they might apply to their destinations and operations as well. So thank you.
Yeah, I've told many people that the fun thing about this is I get to bring people on who I admire and appreciate the work that you do. And so I'm so grateful for you sharing this information. Hopefully the folks here and the folks who watch this later will be able to take some of those lessons with them. Maddie, before we lose too many people, if you want to put the survey in the chat so we can make sure to learn from y'all about what you might want to look for in the future of this. And folks, we're meeting again on May the 6th for our next of this session. Another fantastic lineup of speakers. This one will be focused on events. And so we will feature someone from the National Weather Service. Eric, our friend Eric at the National Weather Service in Dare County, is going to talk to us about kind of some tips for planning events. He did a whole workshop there with event planners to help guide them through making decisions related to climate issues that might arise. We're going to have Emily Epley, who was with Cleveland County Tourism and led the Liver Mush Festival there. She decided to have it recently after Helene because she recognized that they were able to, but it was something that we talked to her a lot about. And then to make sure we're not too Helene heavy, we have a friend from Oklahoma, Bobby, who's going to talk to us about a bike race there, a gravel bike race called the Mid-South, which was canceled last year. It's in mid-March due to a fire that kind of spread and really impacted their ability to have that. And so he's going to talk about some of the lessons learned there. So folks, we're hoping you join us in May. And Dodie and Gladys, I hope that you know that it's not just us that appreciate your work. There's a lot of kudos in the chat for all the work that you're doing and the things you've done, and we appreciate you. Thanks everyone for joining.